But Sean, let's move into the NFC. If you're on YouTube, make sure to check out our AFC ones. It'll be down below in the comments. Also, I'll put it above our heads for you guys. If you're on podcast services, we're just going to truck right on through. How we do our predictions is we go division by division. If you're new watching us on YouTube, we're going to start with the North, then go to the South, the East, the West for the NFC. Then at the end, give you our 1 through 6. So, Sean, let's start off with the NFC
Bears.
North. Well, the Kings of the North, I should say.
Bears.
And that's the Bears. What's your breakdown of Fear the North?
Bears. I have the Bears being the number one team again in the NFC North. I'm going 10-6, 5-1 in the division, 7-1 at home, 3-5 away, 6-4 against teams with winning records, and 4-2 against teams with losing records. I have the Packers then finishing in second place, going 10-6, 4-2 in the division, 7-1 at home, 3-5 away from Lambeau, 4-5 against teams with winning records, and 6-1 against teams with losing records. Then in third place, I have the Vikings going 10-6, 3-3 in the division, 6-2 at that spaceship, 4-4 away from the spaceship.
Sound like me 3 years ago.
4-6 against teams with winning records, and 6-0 against the bad teams with losing records. And then the Lions going 0-6 in the division, 4-12 on the year, 4-4 at Ford Field, 0-8 away from that place, and 2-8 against teams with winning records, and 2-4 against teams with losing records.
So we're similar, but different in one aspect.
You didn't have three teams with the same record in the same division.
Close, though. We just have the Vikings and the Packers flipped. Is for me, number one, the Bears are at 12-4, record that they were last year. The Vikings are 11-5. We'll hope that's enough to make the playoffs this year. Kirk Cousins, let's see if he can get it done. Dalvin Cook can stay healthy. The Packers, 8-8, getting used to Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers and that marriage they're going to have. And then the Lions, 6-10, just kind of down below. And I feel bad every year because I kind of feel like, okay, Lions, you go sit at the kids' table while the big boys talk. But the thing I want to talk about first is obviously the race between the Bears, Vikings, and Packers.
Yeah.
But for you as a Bears fan, you shocked me because I was like, oh, the Bears, they can go 12-4. And you're like, that is too high for the Bears. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Chicago? Is this just a Sean, hey, maybe if I think this way, I'll be surprised when they're 12-4?
No, I mean, this team is very talented. This team is probably the second or third most talented team in the NFC. I think they're either behind the Saints and Rams. I think you can make an argument for being more talented. But I think with the Bears, you look at last year and they were going up against a last place schedule. They were going up against one of the weaker schedules throughout the whole entire NFL. You're going up against the Bills. You're going up against the Jets. You're going up against the Dolphins. You had a pretty easy other AFC division that you're going up against. You did have to play the Patriots, but you played them at home. So that made your schedule even easier. You look now, they have the hardest schedule out of these four teams, the Bears, Packers, Vikings, and Lions, by strength of schedule. They're at .520 compared to the Packers, who are at .488, compared to the Vikings, who are at .50, compared to the Lions, who are at .50 as well. So, I mean, they have the toughest schedule. You're going to have to go to Mile High. You're going to have to go to, I guess, Oakland's not really that big of a challenge there, but you're going to have to go play the Saints. You do host the Saints, which is easy, but you do play a team that was in the NFC Championship game last year. You play a team against the Chargers, who were a playoff team last year. You play the Eagles, who have been defending Super Bowl champions previously, who are getting back their quarterback finally healthy, and you're playing that in Philadelphia. Then you have to go to LA and play the Rams. Then you have to take on the Cowboys, who were a playoff team last year. You have to play the Packers. You have to play the Vikings twice. You have to play the Chiefs. This is a very tough schedule for the Chicago Bears. This isn't them playing the Bucks or the Bills. They have a true grown-up schedule. I think that's what's going to make it difficult for them to go 12-4. I think this team's extremely talented, and I think they're probably better this year because they have another year under Nagy's system. They have, yes, Chuck Pagano coming in, but all the reports from camp so far seem to be that there's no true difference happening between him and Vic Fangio. And yes, maybe schemes will be different a little bit, maybe coverages will be different, but I think these guys are professional enough to realize the change that's going on, and I think Pagano knows how to work with guys in transitions like this. He's been a defensive coordinator for Super Bowl teams before in Baltimore. So I look at this defense, and I think this defense, they might not be the number one defense in the NFL again, but they're definitely going to be top 5, top 10. They're going to be very, very tough. So they're going to lose games just because that defense isn't going to be unstoppable like they were last year. But I do think this offense is going to take that step up to make them more of a balanced team and probably make them more dangerous when it comes playoff time, where maybe they don't have to rely on the defense too much to bail them out, where you can trust in Mitch a little bit. Also, last year, they were extremely healthy. Are they going to have that luck again? Most likely not. So if the Bears go 9-7, 8-8, I would be very pained to see that, but I also wouldn't be too shocked. I'd be more shocked if they went 12-4 than them going 9-7.
Yeah, and I mean, after you talking, like I'm looking at my games, and when I look at the division, I have them splitting with everyone but the Lions. And the only 2 games that I could flip that I'm like, okay, maybe I am too high on the Bears, is coming out of the bye. You're at home against the New Orleans Saints.
I have that as a win.
That's going to be a tough one, though.
Saints can't play on the road.
And then you're going
or they're
week 9
much worse on the road, at least.
Into Philly. That's also one where I almost thought while you were talking, do I make an edit on the podcast, flip the Bears to an 11-5 team, which would bump the Eagles up by 1 win? Because you're like being 12-4 and saying, "Oh, Bears are going to go 12-4." It's not going to be an easy 12-4 like it was last year, but they are capable. Like the thing where you said with Chuck Pagano, where our big thing when Mark and I talked about it was Mark said the biggest difference is going to be how they blitz is basically the huge thing, because Vic Fangio is like, hey, I'm going to disguise and I'm bringing the house. Oh, no, I'm bringing 3. Where Chuck Pagano might actually bring 4 or 5 blitzers in a package. But when you have the talent that the Bears have, I don't want to be like dismiss everything, but it's like it's hard to fuck up when you got the talent the Bears have.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to fuck it up. I mean, this team, even if play calls are bad, this team still has the talent athletically and physically to make up for it. I mean, Roquan Smith's one of the fastest linebackers in the league. Eddie Jackson's the best ball hawking safety in the league. If Clinton Dix is healthy, he's another ball hawker out there. Kyle Fuller was a Pro Bowler. You have probably one of the best pass rushers of our lifetime in Khalil Mack on that line. Akeem Hicks is probably the second best defensive nose tackle behind Aaron Donald. That's not a close race, but it's pretty good to be up in that territory. I think the part that they fall and will fall is just going to be the times that Mitch isn't able to bail them out in the running back situation is shown to be clear. I mean, is not shown to be consistent. I really like the pickup of David Montgomery.
You don't believe in Run DMC?
I really I think he was a good pick, David Montgomery, but I don't know what he's going to be able to do truly as a rookie. And we've seen so many times in Kansas City and in Chicago, mainly last year in the playoff game, where Matt Nagy's just gone away from the run game. So I don't know if this team's going to be able to be consistent enough to be 12-4. I think they're very good, and I think I'd feel better about them going to the playoffs than I did last year. But that doesn't make them a Super Bowl winning team. I think that they are definitely going to be in the race. I think they're a playoff team clearly as they win the division. But I don't know if the consistency will be there, and I don't know if the health will be there, and that's the biggest thing that concerns me.
Here's the question that I want to ask you to kind of end the NFC North, but it puts a bow on everything. Because for me...
They're also, I have them going 5-1 in the division.
Yeah.
They're most likely not going 5-1 in the division.
For me, the other big thing is, I expect the Bears to be a playoff team. It's who joins them. Does Kirk Cousins take that next step to finally pull the team into the playoffs? And then in the playoffs, does he actually win? That's a second story. And then Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy's gone, Matt LaFleur's in. Is it basically just be like, I'm healthy, we're picking this thing up as normal? I want to ask you this, because last week, Pat and I talked about the quarterbacks of the NFC North.
Yeah.
I will ask your opinion, your answer, and then I'll tell you our answers after you have. Which quarterback in the NFC North is under the most pressure this season?
Under the most?
The most pressure.
It's a good question.
Pat brought it up. Pat wanted to talk about it.
Guy's a genius. It's not Stafford, because Stafford doesn't have enough help.
That's what we said.
I truly think Stafford's better than what he's put out there, but I think he's been beaten up so much that his body is not there anymore. I think Stafford should have had a better career than he did, but I don't think it's fully on him. But it's not Stafford. I'd have to say it's Mitch because he doesn't have that contract.
Okay.
Where, yes, Kirk Cousins does have the pressure of performing for Minnesota, but also if he doesn't perform under this contract, he has one more year left, right?
2, I think.
I thought it was a 3-year 88.
Let's see. I'm gonna pull it up.
Okay. I think right now that he has one more year after this, so he still has that security of another year. And even if that he has a bad year next year as well and a bad year this year, some team's going to give him a 1-year deal and he could possibly prove it there and get another big contract. I don't think he's going to get run out of the city if he doesn't have a good year this year. So I wouldn't say it's Kirk. And Packer fans are going to be the last people to crucify Aaron Rodgers. And you could write off so many different ways on where he has places out. New coach, lack of weapons, defense wasn't good enough, there's no running game. There's a lot of places to write off Aaron Rodgers and to give him excuses out. So I don't think it's Aaron Rodgers. I think it's going to come down to Mitch, who has been crucified even before he put on a Bears jersey. The fact that they traded up to get him, that was immediately just the Bears fans going, what the fuck are you doing? Then being drafted before Pat Mahomes, last year's MVP, Deshaun Watson. And now going into the playoffs.
Nobody knew Patrick Mahomes was going to be Patrick Mahomes.
But
though.
You look back at it, and where was Mitch Trubisky drafted? Before Pat Mahomes and before Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson was the big one.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing is, people are going to look back at it and be like, see what we missed out on if he doesn't perform. And I think people forget on how well Mitch did in the second half of that Eagle game. And there's a great breakdown by Brett Coleman on how Mitch does under pressure and how he does not under pressure. He's horrible when he's not under pressure. But when he's up to the deadline, 11 p.m., needs to write 3 pages on a paper, and it's 11:59 deadline.
You got the same analogy.
11:59 deadline, Mitch is hitting it, and he's knocking it out, and he's getting an A. Like, Mitch, it's a great breakdown. Definitely go check it out. It's on YouTube. It talks about how Mitch isn't fully using his hips on every single throw. He's relying too much on his arm.
If you shoot me the link after we record this, I'll put it in the comments section.
Mitch just needs to win the playoff game. And if he doesn't do that, he's going to get crucified.
So
that's what I'll say.
The first thing with the contract is I was right. So this is year 3. Then he's got year 4 and then a club option for the
You
5th.
gave him 5 years?
He's a first rounder. Like you got 4, the contract is 4 plus 1. Yikes. So this is year 3, next year's year 4, and then you got a 5th-year option.
What was the deal though? 4 years.
The deal was 4 years, $29 million was the rookie scale. So he made a base salary. Ooh, most of it came in signing.
Who are you talking about?
Mitch Trubisky.
No, I said Kirk.
Oh, 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, I thought you were talking Mitch.
No, not Mitch.
Okay, no. Kirk this is 2 of 3.
Yeah, Mitch is coming up on his contract.
Yeah.
But it's not really about that. I mean, it's more about actually winning a playoff game.
Yeah.
Kirk, what I was saying was
I thought you were talking about Mitch's contract.
Kirk has 1 more year after this, correct?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is he's going to get his money. He already got his money. It was all guaranteed.
Yeah. And
he's got 1 more year to possibly do something in Minnesota to just make sure that he guarantees more money for himself.
And if not, they walk away. So you are right on the nail with Pat. Pat came in and shocked me and said, Mitch Trubisky. I'll leave his reasoning. You can go check out the segment. I was on the other side. I kind of tossed between Kirk and Rodgers before saying Aaron Rodgers just because of the whole pushed the coach out, brought this coach in. All right, now without Mike McCarthy, can you win? But for me, it's like Kirk Cousins has got pressure. Mitch has got pressure because as a third-year quarterback, how many quarterbacks in year 3 are projected? And I know Chief fans are going, Patrick Mahomes much, because he's also in year 3, and it's like, oh, Super Bowl quarterback, and he's amazing. But Mitch and Mahomes are on different levels in my mind. Goff too. Goff just needed the right coach.
Technically, Wentz was as well.
Wentz too. He just gets injured, and then Nick Foles gets him a Super Bowl ring.
Well, wasn't he a sophomore when they won the Super Bowl?
I think so.
So, I mean, third year, they had Super Bowl expectations because they just won the fucking thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of on par with that. But let's move on into the South. What's your breakdown of the NFC South? One of the toughest divisions usually every year.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is I have
Do we get a new winner? Because usually we get a new winner.
I have a repeat, so it's probably going to be wrong. Shocker, I'm wrong. Saints going 12-4, 5-1 in the division. 8-0 at home, again, 4-4 away from the Superdome, 6-4 against teams with winning records, and 6-0 against teams with losing records. Then have the Panthers coming in at second place, 9-7, 3-3 in the division, 5-3 at home, 4-4 away, 3-6 against teams with against a winning record, and 6-1 against teams with a losing record. Falcons 9-1, 3-3 in division, 5-3 at home, 4-4 away, 4-6 against teams with a winning record, and 5-1 against teams with a losing record. And with the Bucks, 4-12, 1-5 in the division, 4-4 at home, 0-8 against away from Raymond James, 1-9 against teams with a winning record, and 3-3 against teams with a losing record.
So if we were making sandwiches in the NFC, so far you and I, we like the same kind of bread. We have different insides to our sandwiches because...
Are you a turkey boy?
Much like you, I am a turkey
I'm a
boy.
ham guy.
Yeah, I'm a turkey guy.
Are you a turkey mayo guy?
Yeah.
I'm a mustard ham guy.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense, Ricky.
Because the reason why I say that is I've got the Saints at number 1, 13-3, but at number 2 I don't have the Panthers, claw up. I got the Falcons, which you could also say claw down because I guess it's swooping and they've got claws as
Isn't
well.
it a talon?
A talon down.
Dumbass.
They're at 9-7. Then the Panthers are at 7-9, third place, and then the swashbuckling Buccaneers are at 13-3. They're in the cellar. So I mean, you and I, Saints and Bucks.
Yeah.
But that innards, that's the difference.
Well, do you have the Panthers and Falcons at the same record?
9-7, 7-9.
I have 9-7 both. Okay. So it's, I mean, you can really flip them. I don't give a shit.
So the two things I was gonna talk about with this one, the Saints. We don't need to discuss that. They're going to be really good.
Well, I do want to discuss it because do you see them not finishing first?
They're going to come out with a vengeance and have a really... that's the thing I was talking about earlier. I'm glad you mentioned that because I would have totally disregarded it. I see this team playing pissed off this year to where they're going to be like, well, fuck you guys. Fuck the miracle. Fuck last year taking the Super Bowl away from us. We're taking it this year. This is our year. And they're just going to come out PO'd and have a really great season. They'll still finish 13-3, but in the playoffs, they could possibly run the ship.
I still have them pulling a Saints, though. I still have them starting 1-2 again in the season. I have them losing to the Rams, too.
Oh, do I have them doing the same thing?
Do you have them start 1-2?
No, I have them starting 6-0 to start the season.
Jesus
First loss
Christ.
against the Bears.
Go Bears!
And then their other two are divisional games, Panthers and Falcons, with losses.
I have them losing Rams, Seahawks, Bears, Falcons.
Yeah, that Rams game, I can't wait to watch that week 2 because you know that the Saints, they're going to want to win that game because of last year.
Oh my God, if it was in New Orleans, oh boy. Oh boy.
No, that will be in the playoffs.
Who's the team, though, you think that would take them over? If there is a team.
I would say that in this division, the Falcons. And the only reason why is because the one thing that Falcon fans, it was a near sight on our preview that Mark and I did.
Yeah.
They were decimated with injuries last year.
Yeah, they were killed by them.
If they're a healthy team, I don't know if they win the division. I don't know if they're 12-4, 13-3. But as a healthy team, this Falcon team at best could be an 11-5, 10-6 team.
Yeah, they were without Deion Jones. They were without Devontae Freeman. They were out without
Neil, their safety.
Yeah, Neil. What's his first name? I wanted to say Nikhil now.
No, I almost said the same thing, but it's he's out of West Virginia. That's
but yeah, they were decimated injury wise. I just don't trust Dan Quinn at all.
Keanu Neal.
I don't trust Dan Quinn at all, and that's really what it comes down to. And I know Matty Ice was an MVP, and he had that great season. I don't know if he is. I don't know what Matt Ryan truly is anymore. And also, your best weapon is one of the best weapons in the entire NFL. But Julio Jones just is not consistently healthy enough.
Is he better than DeAndre Hopkins? I mean, fantasy-wise,
I said one of the
he's
best.
not.
I said one of the best. I didn't say he's the best. But no, I don't know if they have it. I would say the Panthers more will be the team to take them over just because that defense is consistently good. Ron Rivera is a great head coach. And if Cam is healthy, we know that he can be a good quarterback. Matt Ryan's better. I know that Falcon fans would be like, how could you say that? Matt Ryan's not consistent and then be like Cam Newton. But it's because Cam Newton has Christian McCaffrey. And that guy is an absolute game breaker. And I can't wait to see what he does with just more touches. I think that's what it's going to come down to is the coaching and then having that weapon be healthy. And Christian McCaffrey being younger than Julio Jones consistently dealing with nagging stuff. I'll take the Panthers to possibly upset the Saints if there is a team out there. I don't think it's going to happen, but if there is a team, I'd say the Panthers.
I want to ask you this. This is a quote from Julio Jones this offseason. This was from maybe a week ago, the 24th of July. He told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that Wednesday. Here's the exact quote. "I'm going crazy this year. I'm going crazy. I've been doing everything that I need to do. I'm taking care of my body physically and mentally. I'll be ready to go.
I hope so.
I'm not a prediction type guy, but I might mess around and go 3,000. Could Julio Jones be the first receiver to break 3,000 yards?
No. To break 2,000 yards.
And 3,000.
And 3,000 yards. Because I think Calvin set the record with 1,900, I think.
So Calvin Johnson holds the record for a single season.
1968?
1964.
Fuck!
In 2012. Jones had 1871 in 2015 and ranked second behind Johnson.
And what he had... Because I know Calvin had like 4 touchdowns in his near 2,000 yard season, and I think Julio probably had like 5.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm pulling them up for you.
Because that was the crazy thing when I forget when I was looking at it, but it was just like Calvin Johnson. I was like, oh, he probably had like a 15 touchdown season that year. It was like 4.
So Julio had 8 touchdowns.
Okay,
that
that's
year.
decent.
Not his most though. His most came in his sophomore season with 10. Calvin Johnson had 5.
There it is.
He had 5 touchdowns.
Imagine getting 1,900 yards.
And then
having 5 touchdowns.
The next year, he had 500 less yards, 12 touchdowns.
Sounds about right. But yeah, I don't think Julio Jones is going to get 3,000 yards. Okay. I do want him to be healthy though, because I want to see a full 16 games from Julio Jones. Mm-hmm. If you get a full 16, they're probably better than Panthers. I just don't think they're going to get that because he's never healthy.
Yeah.
Well, it's just bad luck.
Also, Julio Jones fans and Falcon fans, go check out What's Your Fantasy, because from last week, Brandon actually had a question that he asked on the podcast. Someone from his league asked, does he want Julio Jones for the first overall pick in the draft?
But it's a keeper.
Brandon holds it. Yeah, so Julio's going to be his keeper. Should Brandon trade that number 1 pick for Julio Jones? I told him to wait and see who's draftable, but you can go to What's Your Fantasy and give your intake there because Brandon needs it. And then the last team I just wanted to hit in this division is the Buccaneers. Like, they're a team where I don't expect them to be good. I think 3-13 is actually like a blessing in disguise for them, because then that team can say, well, see you, Jameis. We're going to, Bruce Arians can just do one of these, say, hey, he's not my guy.
Yep.
I'm going to go get a guy in the draft or go get one in free agency. Are we too low on the Bucs? Are they actually going to be like a 6-10 team and might be out of the top 5 in the NFL draft?
They'll be better than what they were last year, but I think this is the first step of cleansing this team and making sure that you could build a team, for Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
You saw that in the move that they got rid of Gerald McCoy with. I mean, he was there for years, and they were just trying to clean out house, and they needed to get new voices in that locker room, and that's what they needed to do with Gerald McCoy. Gerald McCoy was a leader on that defense, and I think they're looking to clean out this whole team. And I think that what they're trying to do, or at least what I'm assuming they're doing, is they're going to let Jameis speak for himself. And if Jameis can be decent out there, then they will, go with Jameis. But I think that they understand that Jameis is not the guy that they drafted. He's not the guy they were hoping they drafted. And I think that they're probably going to be looking into the quarterback market next year. So there are definitely some pieces in this team that I'm interested in. The Bucs, Devin White, seeing how he'll perform. He's definitely going to be pretty interesting. I'm looking at how Sue will perform there. Vita Vea, we were really high on him coming out of Washington 2 years ago. I want to see how he will do. This defensive line looks pretty decent. Noah Spence, Vita Vea, and Sue. Ndamukong Suh, and Jason Pierre-Paul. I mean, they have a lot of talent there. It's just where the linebacking core and the secondary kind of fall off outside of Levante David. I don't really know who's a stud in that secondary linebacking core. I mean, you look at that, offense, and outside of Evans and Goodwin, I don't really know what they have offensively,
can O.J.
talent-wise.
Howard stay healthy?
And can he be used well enough? I mean, will they be able to use him? I mean, Bruce Arians isn't a guy that heavily uses a tight end, at least doesn't use tight end or two tight end setups a lot. And I don't really ever remember an Arizona Cardinal tight end having a great season with Bruce Arians. So I don't know if he'll be...
Because Cameron Braid, I think, also got
used that
paid
well.
too. Yeah, he's entering year 2 of his $40 million deal over 6 years.
I don't really, and they don't really have a running game, so overall, I don't see this offense being great. I think it'll be an improvement, but I think that what's going to hold them back is the running back situation and probably Jameis. So I don't think they have a consistent enough quarterback, and I don't think they'll have a consistent enough defense to win enough games.
Well, let's move on. The next division is the NFC East. How's it breaking down, Sean?
I have the Philadelphia Eagles going 12-4, 4-2 in the division, 7-1 at home, 5-3 away, 4-4 against teams with a winning record, and 0-8 against teams with a losing record. I have the boys going 11-5, 5-1 in the division, 8-0 in Jerry World, 3-5 away, 5-3 against teams with a winning record, 6-2 against teams with a losing record. I have the Washington team going 5-11, 2-4 in the division, 5-3 at home, 0-8 against or away from FedEx Field, 2-7 against teams with a winning record, and 3-4 against teams with a losing record. And I have the lowly New York Football Giants going 2-4, 1-5 in the division, 2-6 at home, 0-8 away from MetLife, 0-8 against teams that are good, and 2-6 against teams that are with a losing record.
You and I, my friend, this is the only sandwich that we are buying the same one, because I have the exact same order. I don't know how many people are going to have an order that's opposite.
I think this is the clearest division. The only teams that could flip are the Eagles and Cowboys.
Maybe Redskins, Cowboys, but yeah, I agree with you. Eagles at 1 for me, 11-5, 5-1 in the division. Cowboys at 2, 9-7, 3-3 in the division. Redskins 5-11, 2-4 in the division. And then the Giants, 3-13, not going to be a good one. Daniel Jones starts mid-season, and that's when it kind of derails and goes down rail because he wasn't supposed to be drafted that high. And that's my NFC East. Before we get to the real teams, I want to say real team, but the team I'm going to bring up is a real team. Before we get to the Eagles and why they're probably going to win this division, I want to ask you about the Cowboys. What do you think will be their season story this year? And will Zeke actually hold out regular season games? Or will this be we're going to give him the money and he's going to show up week 1?
I think you answered their question, and what the storyline will be is it's going to be Zeke. No matter whether it be him showing up and playing or him being out, that's going to be the storyline, because this team's going to go as far as he goes. Because if he's playing well and he's out there playing, Dak's going to be playing better. That's going to take more pressure off the defense, and that defense's talent will be able to shine because it won't be on the field as often. And if it's lacking the team lacking Zeke and he's not out there, that means Jason Garrett's going to be able to have to do more offensively and be able to scheme and be able to bolster this pretty mediocre team when it comes to offensive talent. I mean, you're relying on a 36-year-old Jason Witten as your true pass catcher. You lost Allen Hurns. You lost Cole Beasley. Who's the guy out there that's going to be catching passes? So I look at this team, and I'm very concerned about this offense without Zeke.
Yeah.
Do I think he will? Yes, because I think that people are not going to take the Le'Veon Bell route, because I think he'll get more money if he goes out and plays. So I think in the end he will play. I think he might not get the extension, but something will happen that he will change his mind. And I think that if he does, this team can be a true powerhouse. But if he doesn't, his team's going 8-8, 7-9.
So my predictions reflect the entire Ezekiel Elliott situation, because the first thing before I say how I have it playing out is think back to 2017, where the Cowboys were a 5-3 team, looking good. Hey, man, like, how many games could they win? Boom, Zeke suspension happens. And it's like, well, great. Now he's got to miss 6 games. And in those 6 games, they lost the first 3, won the last 3, went 3-3. They still had Zeke. They might have had a better record than 7-9 that year. And I don't remember where I heard it. I think it was someone on ESPN said it, and I heard it, and I'm like, I can completely see it going that way. So how I had it was that same way it was described. I think someone on ESPN said it. Week 1, no Zeke, they lose. Week 2, no Zeke, they lose. Jerry Jones comes in, gives them money, and saves the day and says, you know what, we got our guy back. And then it's business as usual. Like, yeah, will they probably still lose to the Saints in New Orleans? Will they still split with the Eagles, lose to the Rams, lose to the Bills, lose to the Patriots? Yeah. But to me, the Zeke situation will define how the Cowboys do, because without Zeke, I could see the Giants might be a stretch. I mean, with Eli week 1, maybe not, but yet again, their receivers are all hurt.
Yeah.
But the Redskins, I could see them, even without wide receivers, with Case Keenum, could upset the Cowboys without an Ezekiel Elliott out there. I could see it.
Say that sentence again and try not to laugh.
I could see the Redskins without Zeke upsetting the Cowboys.
The Cowboys without Zeke.
Without Zeke.
You said Redskins.
Okay. If the Cowboys have Zeke, they win both of those games. They're, in my mind, with Zeke, an 11-5 team.
Without Zeke?
With Zeke.
With Zeke, I have him as 11-5.
Okay.
Team. So I agree with you there. Without Zeke, I said 7-9, 8-8. I just think that, I have them, beating the Rams in week 15. I have them beating the Eagles in week 16. I have them beating the Vikings in week 10. Like, all those can I have them beating the Packers in week 5 with Zeke. But if they don't have Zeke, I think all those 4 can flip.
Yeah.
So it's definitely dependent on getting Zeke back, because it's going to make your year 1 of Kellen Moore's first year as offensive coordinator much easier having Zeke out there. I mean, right now, if Zeke doesn't sign, it's Alfred Morris, correct?
Yep.
So you're relying on a 30.
Are they just re-signing?
3-year-old? Yeah, they just re-signed him. 33-year-old running back in Alfred Morris to be your bell cow. I mean, I don't see the positive ways that this turns out without Zeke.
I'm just going to list them. So you got Alfred Morris, who they signed. You've got Darius Jackson, Tony Pollard, who's a rookie, Mike Weber, who's a rookie. You've got Jordan Cahoon, Jamizi Alawali, and then Ryan Urachik.
So they have nobody behind Ezekiel Elliott. Thank you for proving that point. I do not see it happening. I don't see it happening without Zeke. If they have Zeke, though, this team's incredibly talented on the defensive side of the ball, that I think that they can make lives a nightmare for teams in the NFC. I think you could possibly look at this team and, Saints have a very good defense. Bears obviously have a very good defense. Vikings have a very good defense. But if they're clicking on all cylinders, I think that they could be the best defense in the NFC.
And you think Zeke is going to get something, contract extension, before the season starts, so that he's not going to miss a single regular season game? Or is it going to be you called my bluff, I'm blinking first, basically a Friday Night Lights situation? You called my bluff, I'm going to come in and play.
I think it's that one.
Okay.
I think it's he will play because of that. I think he'll just come back because he wants to play and prove a point. And I think that they will call his bluff, pretty much.
And my Friday Night Lights fans, I am not downplaying the significance of the holdout in that show, because it was not over just a few dollars, but that's kind of the way I was going to describe it. What about the Eagles, though? They're a team that they make a trade for Jordan Howard. He's now their starting running back. They make a trade for Deshaun Jackson, to where now their starting 3 are Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Nelson Aguilar, but they also got Braxton Miller coming in. They also drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside coming in, Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz. Is this offense going to be able to click soon enough to where this team is just, boom, the favorite to win?
You didn't even mention. You also have Jordan Howard, too.
And Jordan. Jordan Howard was the first one I said.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, trade for Jordan Howard.
My bad. I thought you heard I heard Deshaun Jackson first. Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders,
I might
Corey
have
Clement.
misspoke. I do that from time to time.
Josh Adams. I think, really looking at this offense, I mean, there's no way you should not be excited for this Eagle team. I mean, this Eagle team's going to be a monster to stop. I absolutely love Alshon Jeffrey when healthy, probably because he's a former Bear. Deshaun Jackson, obviously a massive burner out there. Nelson Aguilar has been a consistent target for Carson Wentz to hit when Carson Wentz is healthy. And I think it all boils down to this being the best offense if Carson Wentz is healthy and is returning back to form.
Yeah.
Because if we see that Carson Wentz again, I think they could be absolutely unstoppable. Because, I mean, this team with
that's my
Doug
only
Peterson's,
thing is he going to be healthy? And if he's not,
I think you have to
if he
assume,
goes down,
I think you have to assume he is.
If he goes down, what, Nate Sudfeld's your guy?
Yeah, if he is healthy, which I think you have to assume he will be, I think you can make the bet that this would be the best offensive team in the NFC, because you could make the argument for the Saints, you can make the argument for the Rams. My counter to that would be Rams, we're not sure about Todd Gurley, and he's really probably the true MVP of that offense when fully healthy. And then the other one with the Saints is, yes, you have Kamara, but you lost Mark Ingram. Drew Brees is getting older. You lost Ben Watson. That tight end situation's pretty thin. I think that looking at the 3 wide receivers they have, the 2 running backs that they have in Sanders and Howard, the massive weapon they have in Zach Ertz, and that offensive line, if Carson Wentz is near his MVP level, this team will be unstoppable offensively.
Yeah, I wonder if this team can be what they were his second year, so 2017.
Yeah.
Where
The Super Bowl year.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was a Super Bowl year where they were 11-2, and then boom, he got injured against the Rams. It's like, holy crap, what are they going to do? That year, though, they had 3 guys over 750 yards: Ertz, Alshon, and Aguilar. Now you add Deshaun Jackson into that. And the big thing is Jordan Howard. Can he do what LeGarrette Blount did for them that year of like, hey, I'm going to give you good games, and I'm going to give you a performance of like 750 yards plus. I know that Blount didn't get into the touchdown category as much as fans would have wanted him to, but he gave you yards on the ground. It was able to provide some power up the middle. Really, to me, it's just injury. Can Carson Wentz stay healthy? If he does, this is a playoff team, and then we'll see what they can do in the playoff. I feel like they won't be 1 or 2 because the Saints and Rams are really good teams, but this will be a team that fights with the Bears, fights with the Vikings, fights with the Cowboys, the Packers, for whoever is going to be that third and fourth seed along with them if the Eagles are able to win the division.
Yeah, the only question mark I really have about them is their defense. You lose Bennett, right? Yeah, you lost Bennett. Yeah, you lost Bennett because the Patriots got him. The linebacking core seems fairly thin to me, and if Malcolm Jenkins goes down, I worry a lot about that secondary, because that's where the Bears picked on him last year in the playoff game, was picking on Crayvon LeBlanc, picking on Avonte Maddox, and if they're not able to, like Sidney Jones isn't able to take that next step up, I worry about I will worry about that secondary.
The only thing I'm going to say about that, and it's not a like, hey, be all fix all, but I was kind of upset when he left us to go there.
Sendejo.
Behind Jenkins is now Sendejo, who is a good starting safety if you need him there if Jenkins goes down.
But I just think it's not really about the talent of Malcolm Jenkins. It's more about the leadership, because he is that guy. Him and Fletcher Cox are the guys, at least leadership-wise on that defense. So if he goes down, which he is older, that could really hurt this defense significantly. But I don't think he will. And I think this team's going to be 12-4. I think this team is clearly the cream of the crop when it comes to the NFC East.
What about let's move the last division we got to hit, and that is the NFC West. Sean, how's it going to break down?
I have the Los Angeles Rams going 13-3, 4-2 in the division, 0-8 at home, 8-0.
If you weren't listening, it sounded almost like you said the Los Angeles Lambs.
Los Angeles Lambs.
The Rams.
The Los Angeles Lambs are going 13-3, 4-2 in the division, 8-0 at home, 5-3 away, 7-2 with a winning record, and 6-1 against teams with a losing record. Seahawks 12-4, 4-2 in the division, 8-0 at home, 4-4 away, 6-3 against teams with a winning record, and 6-1 against teams with a losing record. I have the 49ers going 8-8, 4-2 in the division, 4-4 at home, 4-4 away, 4-6 against teams with a winning record, and 4-2 against teams with a losing record. And the Arizona Cardinals 4-12, 0-6 in the division, 2-6 at home, 2-6 away, 1-8 against teams with a winning record, and 3-4 against teams with a losing record. Also, shout out to our boy Brian Fuentes.
Mm-hmm. And also Kyler Murray going to be the quarterback of that team.
He's not my boy.
Not our boy, but he's going to be the quarterback. For me, it's what? Who did you have number 2? The Seahawks? Yeah. So Sean and I are the same. I took
a sip of water right when you asked me that question.
The Rams at 13-3, 5-1 in the division. The Seahawks at 9-7, 3-3 in the division. The 49ers at 9-7, 3-3 in the division. And then the Cardinals 2-14, 1-5 in the division. The way I kind of see this one going is it's simple. The Rams are going to be good. The Cardinals are not going to be good. Are they going to be 2-14 bad? You may argue and say, no, they'll win 4 games. No, they'll win 5 games. The point is they will probably be in 4th place of this division. The thing I want to focus on here is that middle of this division. I'll let you start with whichever team you want to go into. Seahawks, 49ers. How does it break down this year between those two teams in the divisional hunt to be behind the Rams?
I think people are going to be sleeping on the Seahawks. Russell Wilson's the top 5 quarterback, and you just gave him, I mean, unfortunately took Doug Baldwin away due to injuries, but you just gave him Tyler Lockett, who was arguably the best downfield wide receiver last year. I think when Russell Wilson targeted him down the field, he had like a perfect passer rating. I mean, like those two are a perfect pair. And to go along with that, you gave him a 6'4" freak who is running a 4.35 40. So this offense is literally just going to be run the ball, play action verts. That's all they're going to do, and it's going to work because they are that dangerous when it comes to Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and I think the concerns are going to lie in the offensive line and then which running back is going to step up and be the guy. But even if that situation isn't solved, it worked for them last year. And if this offensive line can just be middle of the pack, this offense will absolutely click. And you look at this defense, it's not, Legion of Boom good. It's never going to be that good again.
And they lost another piece in Frank Clark, who they traded away.
But they got LJ Collier from TCU. And they don't have a really, stud on that defensive line. And I don't really know if they have a stud in the secondary. But they do have probably the best middle linebacker in the league, and that's Bobby Wagner. And I think in the end,
if you ask Madden, he's a 99.
Because he's the best linebacker in the league. But I truly think that they won't be, number 1 in the league good, but they'll be good enough. And at home in Seattle, that defense is just going to get that much stronger. So I think Seattle is going to be a team that it's going to be difficult for them to win on the road going 4-4, but at home they'll be able to take care of business. And they have some pretty easy games at home too. Toughest ones being Saints and Rams. But outside of that, they have the Vikings too. Vikings coming off a bye. But outside of that, I see a fairly easy schedule when it comes to home record, and they at least get 7 to 8 wins at home.
And when it comes to the home record as well, the 3 teams that I have them losing to at home are the Saints, who are really good, the Rams, who are really good, and the Vikings, who I will say till the day I die, we should have won that game. It got screwed by the refs in Seattle, where we lost 21-7. So 3 ones where it's like, okay, I could possibly see that. For the Seahawks, I feel like it's going to be, they were 10-6 last year. At worst, they're 9-7. Like, they might take a game dip. They might stay the same at 10-6. To me, the story is the San Francisco 49ers, because with a healthy Jimmy G, he's got to be healthy for the entire season. I don't care if he doesn't have weapons wide receiver wise. He's got George Kittle.
You said wide receiver wise. That's the tight end.
Receiver wise. I know he's got the tight end. I don't think this team with a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo is 4-12. I don't know if they make the playoffs. I don't know if it's like, they're 7-9 now. I don't know if it's, they're 9-7 now. But I know this team is a better team than 4-12 with Jimmy Garoppolo playing every game.
Yeah, they definitely are. And you look at their, their lack of wide receiver help, that's very clear. They have Marquise Goodwin, who was, a downfield monster. Dante Pettis had some, couple good games with Nick Mullins under center. Jordan Matthews is obviously pretty decent in Philadelphia. Wasn't, their best guy out there, but he was pretty consistent.
Kind of a redemption story for him.
And obviously you mentioned George Kittle. Dude was a legit stud last year. And I love their running back situation. You got Tevin Coleman, you got Jerick McKinnon, you have Matt Breida. All three of those guys have number one back potential. And if Garoppolo's healthy, it's going to be really on him to make this all work. I think that Kyle Shanahan will make it work, but the reason why I don't think they will be good, or at least playoff worthy, is because of their defense. Because they have a great secondary. I mean, they have a great special teams, mainly just because Robbie Gould. I just want to mention them.
Yeah.
But outside of Buckner, Ford, and Bosa, I don't really like their defense. I mean, Richard Sherman is a name, but he's not the guy anymore. Jason Verrett is consistently injured, and Quan Alexander, there's a reason he was let go from Tampa. Not only was his actual contract bad, but I don't think he is a Bobby Wagner type player out there, where he can lead, he can cover, and he can go blow up plays in the backfield. I think he's a very talented athletic player, but I don't think he is an all-around great middle linebacker.
And that's where it's like, I don't think this defense is going to be the best defense in the league. I don't think it's going to be the worst one in the league either. And
I'm not saying that.
The thing I am interested in this year is just to see defensively how what does Nick Bosa and Dee Ford bring to this team? Because basically they got two new pass rushing toys to play with defensively. You've got Dee Ford, who came over in a trade from Kansas City, and then you've got Nick Bosa, who you took in the draft. And everything right now coming out of 49ers is that Nick Bosa is looking like he could be as good, if not better, than his brother. Like, he is going to be an absolute stud for that team. The question then becomes, like, I look behind them, like Solomon Thomas. Okay, now you get bumped because Nick Bosa's better as a younger player than you. How do you contribute to this team? And Eric Armstead, who's an older player, how do you contribute to this team as a second stringer, to where I'm not crazy about, like, I like the new pass rushing. Malcolm Smith will be interesting. I believe he was signed this free agency from the Oakland Raiders. But after that, it's like, this defense is going to blow your socks off. But can they put this team in situations to where it's like, hey, Jimmy, we got you the ball back. We put you in a good situation. You go ahead and bring it home, bud. Like, the offense is going to be the thing. Well, really, the quarterback is going to be the thing to win them games. It's just, can this defense be good enough to help out Jimmy G?
Yeah, and I think also they don't have a true home field advantage. So I think that will make that just like I mean, like, it's not going to be a thing where you can look at New Orleans and you can look at Seattle, and that's going to give you that much of an edge.
Or like Arrowhead.
I mean, like, there's not a true home field advantage for them to really, rile up this defense and get that defense to even make it harder on the offense, where you have, it doesn't matter about the 11 guys because you also have a 12th guy coming in that crowd. I don't know if they have the atmosphere yet around this team to make them dangerous. And I think that next year is their year, because I still have them going 500. Yeah. I think they'll beat up on bad teams. And there's even a couple games that I'm looking at right now that they can definitely flip. But I see that having an early bye will drain them a little bit. And again, just the lack of secondary might hurt them a bit. And also, we don't know what Jimmy Garoppolo can be. What if Jimmy Garoppolo is a guy that, now that he fully has some weapons and isn't playing conservatively and, starts to open it up a little bit? What if you guys throws a ton of picks? Yeah, I mean, like, he hasn't proven that yet, but we've never seen a full season from Garoppolo as a quarterback. So I don't know if we could put too much faith into him yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking there. Like, it'll be a mixed season. I think 8-8, 9, like 7-9 to 9-7 is the range I see for the 49ers. But it'll be interesting to see if either of these teams, the Seahawks or the 49ers, make a jump in this division. How about we end things same way we did the AFC? What is your breakdown 1 through 6 playoff seedings for the NFC?
Number 1, I have the Rams at 13-3. 2, I have the Saints at 12-4. 3, I have the Eagles at 12-4. 4, I have the Bears at 10-6. 5, I have the Seahawks at 12-4. And 6, I have the Cowboys at 11-5.
So for me, number 1, the Saints, they are 13-3. So are the Rams, 13-3. Saints win the tiebreaker because they won the Week 2 matchup in LA. Then at number 3, 12-4, the Chicago Bears. Right behind them at 11-5, the Philadelphia Eagles. If the Eagles would have won, that would have flipped as well. Then the Vikings at 11-5, being the number 5. And because I changed things at the very end, like before we started recording, guess who is my surprise 6th seed that I did not even notice slipped in there?
Bears.
The Falcons.
Yeah.
The Falcons at 9-7 will be the new 6th seed for my playoffs moving forward. But if you guys agree with anything, disagree with anything, have your own predictions, let us know what you guys think down below. You agree? Are we idiots? Are we smart? Let us know what you guys are thinking.